The red and blue lights filled the inside of the SUV. Marcus Reed tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He had not been speeding. He knew he hadn't. Still, the siren screamed behind him. He pulled over. Slow. Calm. The officer walked up with heavy steps. Big boots. Hard face. Tap. 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 License and registration. Marcus handed them over. Was I speeding, officer? The officer didn't answer. He leaned closer. Too close. You look nervous. Marcus blinked. I was driving. That's not what I asked. The words were flat. Sharp. Cars slowed. People stared. The officer stepped back and looked at the SUV. Nice car, he said. Is it yours? Marcus felt it. That shift. That tone. Yes. It's mine. The officer smirked. Step out of the vehicle. May I ask why? The officer's jaw tightened. Because I said so. Marcus stepped out slowly. The officer circled him like he was hunting. You people always think you can hide behind a suit. The air changed. Marcus' heart pounded once. Then steadied. I'm not hiding. The officer leaned in close. Then you won't mind if I tear this car apart. Marcus looked into his eyes. And for the first time, he saw something dangerous. The lights kept flashing. Red. Blue. Red. Blue. Marcus Reed slowed the SUV and pulled to the shoulder. His heart beat once. Hard. Then steady. He turned off the engine. The street was busy. Late afternoon traffic. People walking. A bus stopping nearby. Officer Halbrook stepped out of his cruiser. Tall. Wide shoulders. Dark navy uniform tight across his chest. He walked like he owned the road. Tap. 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 Marcus lowered the window. License and registration. Marcus handed them over calmly. Was I speeding? Halbrook didn't answer. He studied Marcus' face. Then the interior of the car. Then the dashboard. You seemed unsure back there. Unsure of what? Where you were going? Marcus frowned slightly. I drive this route every week. Halbrook gave a thin smile. Step out of the vehicle. Is there a reason, officer? Halbrook's voice dropped. You don't get to ask questions here. A car slowed. Someone stared. Marcus opened the door. Stepped out slowly. Hands visible. Halbrook circled him once. You live around here? Yes. Where? Marcus gave the neighborhood name. Halbrook raised an eyebrow. That area's expensive. Marcus said nothing. Halbrook leaned closer. This your car? Yes. You sure about that? Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. But he kept his voice level. It's registered in my name. Halbrook glanced at the SUV again. Mind if I take a look inside? Do you have probable cause? Halbrook's smile disappeared. You trying to sound smart? I'm asking a question. Halbrook stepped closer. You fit a description. Marcus blinked. What description? Black male. Late 30s. Nice car. Acting nervous. Marcus stared at him. That's not a description. That's me existing. Halbrook's jaw tightened. You got an attitude. No, sir. You do now. The air shifted. Two teenagers across the street stopped walking. One lifted a phone. Halbrook noticed. His voice grew louder. You step out here in a suit thinking you're untouchable. I stepped out because you asked me to. Halbrook moved toward the driver's door. I'm going to search this vehicle. On what grounds? Halbrook turned sharply. On my grounds. Marcus felt the ground tilt under him. Officer, I have not broken any law. Halbrook stepped close enough that Marcus could smell coffee on his breath. You don't decide that. Marcus swallowed. He thought of the meeting he was heading to. The proposal waiting in his briefcase. The policy changes he had been fighting for. And now, this. Halbrook opened the SUV door roughly. He searched the front seat, the glove compartment, the center console. Paperwork spilled onto the pavement. Marcus bent slightly. May I pick that up? Stay where you are. More phones were out now. A woman whispered. This isn't right. Halbrook slammed the passenger door shut. What's in the trunk? Documents. Open it. Marcus pressed the key fob. The trunk lifted. Halbrook dug through the briefcase. Files shifted. One folder slipped out. The city seal flashed in the sunlight. Halbrook barely glanced at it. You carry a lot of paper for someone just driving around. I'm heading to work. Halbrook laughed. Doing what? Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to say it. Not like this. Transportation. Halbrook smirked. Transportation. Sure. Marcus felt it again. That familiar weight. The assumption. The doubt. The quiet accusation. Halbrook stepped closer again. You think you're better than me? Marcus blinked. No. Because of that suit. No. Halbrook's voice hardened. I can make this very difficult for you. A pause. Traffic moved slowly around them. The sky felt too bright. Marcus chose his words carefully. I have cooperated fully. Halbrook stared at him. Long. Cold. Then his hand moved to his belt. He unclipped something. Metal glinted in the sun. The handcuffs. Halbrook tilted his head. Turn around. Marcus felt every eye on him. Every camera. Every breath. Am I under arrest? Halbrook stepped forward. We're about to find out. And the cuffs clicked open. The handcuffs clicked open. Metal flashed in the sun. Marcus felt the sound more than heard it. Across the street, a woman gasped. Why are you cuffing him? She shouted. Officer Halbrook didn't look at her. Turn around, he said. Marcus kept his voice calm. Am I being detained? You're resisting. I haven't moved. Halbrook grabbed Marcus' wrist. Hard. The pressure was sharp. Phones lifted higher. A young woman in a gray hoodie stepped closer, recording. Officer, he's not doing anything. Halbrook barked back. Step away or you'll be next. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. Not anger. Something deeper. Familiar. Humiliation. Officer, Marcus said carefully. Please state the charge. Halbrook tightened his grip. Obstruction. How? You're questioning me. The crowd murmured. That's not a crime, someone said. Halbrook turned toward the voice. Anyone else want to test that? Silence fell fast. A second patrol car rolled up. Lights flashing. Marcus' stomach dropped. Another officer stepped out. Younger. Watching. Halbrook kept talking loudly now. This individual matched the description of a suspect. Marcus turned slightly. What suspect? Halbrook ignored him. The young woman filming stepped closer. What suspect? She repeated. Halbrook pointed at Marcus. He was driving erratically, avoiding eye contact. Marcus stared at him. I was at a red light. Halbrook leaned close again. You see how he talks? Defensive. The second officer shifted uncomfortably. Marcus noticed. Officer, Marcus said, turning slightly toward the newcomer. May I ask what law I have broken? The younger officer hesitated. Halbrook cut in. He's coming downtown. Marcus felt the air thin. On what grounds? Halbrook snapped the cuffs onto Marcus' wrists. The metal was cold. Too tight. Gasps rippled through the crowd. You can't just take him, the woman recording yelled. Halbrook stepped closer to her. Ma'am, put the phone down. No. Her hand shook, but she didn't lower it. Marcus felt the cuffs press against bone. He tested them slightly. Pain shot up his arm. I am not resisting, he said clearly. Halbrook leaned toward the younger officer. Get the door. The younger officer opened the patrol car slowly. Marcus' mind raced. He thought about the city meeting. The vote scheduled in 2 hours. The transportation reform proposal. If he didn't show up, it would stall. Again. Halbrook pushed him gently but firmly. Watch your step. Marcus stumbled slightly. The crowd grew louder. This is wrong. Record his badge. Sir, what's your name? Someone shouted at Marcus. Halbrook turned sharply. No talking. Marcus looked toward the crowd. Just for a second. I haven't done anything illegal, he said. Halbrook shoved him into the back seat. The door slammed shut. The world went muffled. Through the glass, Marcus saw the young woman still filming. She zoomed in. On the badge. On the cuffs. On his face. Halbrook leaned into the open front door. You should have just stayed quiet. Marcus' voice stayed steady. I have been quiet. Halbrook smirked. That's the problem. The second officer shifted in his seat. Do we have confirmation on the suspect report? Halbrook didn't answer right away. He kept his eyes on Marcus. Then he spoke softly. Call it in. The patrol car engine started. Marcus leaned back against the seat. His wrists burned. His heart pounded once. Twice. He breathed slowly. He knew this feeling. This wasn't about a suspect. This wasn't about driving. This was about power. Outside, the crowd began chanting. Let him go. Halbrook slammed his door. The siren turned on again. But before the car pulled away, the radio crackled. Dispatch spoke. Unit 47 confirms suspect description. Halbrook grabbed the mic. Black male. Late 30s. Dark SUV. A pause. Static. Then dispatch responded. Unit 47, we don't have an active suspect matching that. Silence. The younger officer turned slowly toward Halbrook. Halbrook's jaw tightened. Repeat that. Negative on suspect match, dispatch said. The younger officer looked back at Marcus. Marcus met his eyes. Calm. Steady. Halbrook grabbed the mic again. Run his name. Marcus felt it. The shift. Small. But real. The younger officer typed into the console. Seconds felt heavy. Outside, the woman was still filming. Still watching. The computer screen glowed. The younger officer frowned. Sir. Halbrook's voice hardened. What? The younger officer swallowed. There's a flag on the file. Halbrook's eyes narrowed. What kind of flag? The younger officer hesitated. Marcus felt his pulse in his ears. The officer turned the screen slightly toward Halbrook. Halbrook stared. His expression changed. Just a flicker. Then gone. He looked back at Marcus slowly. Different now. Measured. Step out of the vehicle, Halbrook said quietly. Marcus didn't move. Am I still under arrest? Halbrook held his gaze. For the first time. He didn't answer right away. The cuffs stayed on. Even after the screen changed. Even after the silence. Step out, Officer Halbrook said again. His voice was lower now. Controlled. Marcus stepped out slowly. The younger officer avoided eye contact. Are the charges clear? Marcus asked. Halbrook shut the patrol car door. We're verifying some things. That wasn't the plan 5 minutes ago. Halbrook's jaw tightened. Watch your tone. Marcus felt the sting in his wrists. The crowd was still there. Still filming. Halbrook glanced at them. Then made a decision. Put him back in. The younger officer hesitated. Sir, dispatch said. I heard dispatch. The back door opened again. Marcus sat down without resistance. The engine started. This time no siren. Just silence. The station smelled like old coffee and bleach. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Marcus was led through a narrow hallway. Other officers stared. Some curious. Some blank. Halbrook removed one cuff and reattached it to a metal ring on the table in a small interview room. The other cuff stayed tight. You're not booking me? Marcus asked. Not yet. Halbrook sat across from him. No smile now. Why didn't you say who you were? Marcus met his eyes. You didn't ask. Halbrook leaned back. You think this is funny? No. Because I don't. Marcus studied the room. Gray walls. One camera in the corner. Red light blinking. You told dispatch there was a suspect, Marcus said quietly. Halbrook's stare hardened. You matched behavior. What behavior? Evasive. I was at a red light. Halbrook leaned forward. You people always turn simple stops into drama. Marcus felt the words hit. You people. Halbrook didn't blink. Professionals who think rules don't apply. Marcus held his gaze. I asked for a reason. And I gave you one. You said I looked nervous. You did. Marcus exhaled slowly. Officer, you searched my vehicle without cause. Halbrook's voice sharpened. Careful. Careful of what? Halbrook's chair scraped loudly as he stood. Of making this worse. Silence filled the room. Marcus felt anger rise. But he pushed it down. He had learned that skill years ago. Stay calm. Stay precise. Am I being charged? Marcus asked. Halbrook stepped toward the door. We're deciding. The door shut behind him. Marcus sat alone. The room felt smaller now. He flexed his fingers against the metal cuff. His wrist was red. His breathing slowed. He replayed every word. Every tone. Every look. This wasn't a mistake. It was comfort. Comfort with control. The door opened again. The younger officer stepped in quietly. He looked uneasy. Do you need water? He asked. Yes, please. The officer handed him a cup. Their fingers brushed briefly. The younger officer lowered his voice. Sir, I think there's confusion. Marcus looked at him carefully. What kind of confusion? The officer hesitated. You're flagged in the system. Marcus' eyes stayed steady. I'm aware. The officer swallowed. Why didn't you tell him? Marcus gave a faint, tired smile. Because it shouldn't matter. The officer nodded slowly. Then footsteps echoed in the hallway. Halbrook's voice. Louder now. The younger officer stepped back. Halbrook entered with a folder in his hand. He placed it on the table. Slowly. "Marcus Reed," he read aloud. Marcus didn't respond. Halbrook flipped the folder open. "Transport Commissioner." The word sat heavy in the room. Halbrook looked up. "You let this go very far." Marcus blinked once. "I complied." Halbrook's face tightened. "You could have said something. You didn't ask what I do." Halbrook slammed the folder shut. "This is going to create paperwork." Marcus stared at him. "That concerns you more than what happened." Halbrook leaned forward. "You think flashing a title fixes this?" "I haven't flashed anything." Silence again. Thicker now. Halbrook paced once. Then stopped. "We can release you," he said. "Call it a misunderstanding." Marcus' jaw tightened slightly. "A misunderstanding?" "Yes. You reported a suspect that didn't exist." Halbrook's nostrils flared. "Watch it." Marcus didn't look away. "You put cuffs on me without cause." Halbrook stepped closer. "I can still charge you with obstruction." "For asking questions?" "For failing to comply fast enough." Marcus felt the weight of that. The threat wasn't loud. It was quiet. Calculated. Halbrook lowered his voice. "You walk out now, no report filed. Clean slate." Marcus understood. No record. No noise. No consequences. Just silence. His phone sat on the table. Confiscated earlier. Halbrook pushed it toward him. "You get one call," he said. "Make it count." Marcus looked at the phone. Then back at Halbrook. "You're certain about that?" Halbrook held his stare. "Yes." Marcus picked up the phone. His hands were steady. He dialed from memory. It rang once. Twice. Then a voice answered. "Deputy Director Brooks speaking." Marcus' eyes never left Halbrook's. "Elaine," he said calmly. "I'm at Central Precinct." Halbrook's expression shifted slightly. Marcus continued. "In handcuffs." Silence on the other end. Then, "What? What?" Elaine Brooks' voice cut through the phone. Sharp. "Awake." Marcus kept his tone steady. "I'm at Central Precinct. Officer Halbrook detained me during a traffic stop." Silence. Then slower. Controlled. "Are you safe?" "For now." Halbrook stood across the table. Arms folded. Listening. Elaine's voice dropped. "Is this recorded?" Marcus glanced at the red blinking light in the corner. "Yes." A pause. "Put it on speaker." Marcus tapped the screen. The room filled with her voice. "Officer Halbrook," she said calmly. "This is Deputy Director Elaine Brooks from the Department of Transportation." Halbrook didn't respond immediately. His jaw flexed. "Yes, ma'am," he said finally. "Why is the Transport Commissioner in your custody?" The word landed heavy. "Commissioner." The younger officer in the doorway stiffened. Halbrook cleared his throat. It was a routine stop. Routine stops usually don't involve handcuffs. He was being uncooperative. Marcus felt it again. That word. Uncooperative. Elaine's tone sharpened. "In what way?" He questioned instructions. Marcus spoke quietly. "I asked for probable cause." Halbrook shot him a warning look. Elaine didn't miss it. "Officer, were you aware of who he was?" "No, ma'am." "And would that have changed your conduct?" Silence. Halbrook's fingers tightened on the folder. "That's not relevant." "It's extremely relevant," Elaine said. The younger officer shifted again. Marcus felt the air change. Something larger was moving now. Elaine continued. "I want his release immediately." Halbrook hesitated. "He's not formally booked." Then remove the cuffs. Marcus heard footsteps outside. Whispers in the hallway. Elaine's voice grew firmer. "And preserve all body camera footage." Halbrook's eyes flicked to the ceiling camera. "Of course." "Good," she said. "Because this conversation is being documented." The silence after that felt different. Not heavy. Dangerous. Halbrook stepped forward. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be." Elaine answered instantly. "No. It already is." Marcus felt his wrist shift. The cuff clicked open. The metal fell away. Blood rushed back into his hand. Halbrook's voice dropped low. "You could have told me." Marcus stood slowly. "You never asked." Halbrook exhaled sharply. "This puts me in a bad position." Marcus met his eyes. "You put yourself there." Footsteps approached quickly. A uniformed captain entered the room. Face tight. "Sir," the captain said to Halbrook quietly. "Chief wants an update." Halbrook nodded once. "We had a miscommunication." The captain's eyes moved to Marcus. Recognition flashed. His tone changed instantly. Commissioner Reed, we apologize for any confusion. Marcus felt the shift. The weight of it. Same room. Different energy. I wasn't confused, Marcus said evenly. The captain swallowed. Elaine was still on the line. Captain, she said. This stop was recorded by civilians. The captain froze. Recorded? Yes. Marcus saw it land. Public. Not private. Not controlled. The captain turned to Halbrook slowly. Halbrook didn't look back. The captain straightened. Commissioner, you're free to leave. Marcus didn't move. For what reason was I detained? He asked. The captain hesitated. There appears to have been a misunderstanding. Marcus' voice remained calm. I was told I matched a suspect description. The captain's eyes flicked to Halbrook. And was there such a suspect? Silence. Halbrook stared at the wall. The younger officer spoke quietly. No, sir. The captain's face hardened. Elaine spoke again. We expect full cooperation. You'll have it, the captain replied quickly. Marcus picked up his briefcase from the table. Files slightly bent. He smoothed them. Small, careful movements. Halbrook finally looked at him. This doesn't have to ruin anyone. Marcus paused. Ruin. Halbrook lowered his voice. Careers are fragile. Marcus held his gaze. So is trust. The captain cleared his throat. Commissioner, the chief is on his way. Marcus nodded once. I'll wait. Halbrook stiffened. You don't need to. I want to. Silence filled the room again. But this time, Halbrook wasn't in control of it. Outside, more footsteps echoed. Phones buzzed in the hallway. Someone whispered, Media's calling. Marcus felt the ripple spreading. Fast. The door opened again. Another officer stepped in. Sir, Internal Affairs has been notified. The words hung in the air. Halbrook's shoulders tightened. By who? He snapped. The officer hesitated. City Hall. Marcus felt a quiet ache in his chest. This wasn't victory. It was exposure. And exposure always comes with cost. Halbrook looked at Marcus one more time. Different now. Measured. Not aggressive. Calculating. You're sure you want this road? Halbrook asked softly. Marcus didn't blink. I didn't choose it. Down the hallway, voices grew louder. Camera shutters clicked faintly outside the building. The captain straightened his jacket. This is escalating quickly. Marcus adjusted his cuffs. The red marks were still there. Visible. He looked at them briefly. Then back at Halbrook. It escalated the moment you decided I looked nervous. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. And somewhere outside, a news van door slammed shut. The hallway outside the interview room was louder now. Phones buzzing. Low voices. Boots moving fast. Marcus stood near the table, briefcase in hand. The red marks on his wrists were still visible. Officer Halbrook stood across from him. Quiet. Too quiet. The captain's phone rang again. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Marcus could hear one word clearly. Media. Halbrook exhaled slowly. This didn't have to go this far. Marcus looked at him. It already had. Footsteps approached. Two people entered the room. Plain clothes. No uniforms. Badges clipped at their belts. Internal Affairs, the woman said calmly. She looked at Marcus first. Commissioner Reed? Yes. I'm Investigator Chun. This is Investigator Alvarez. Halbrook shifted slightly. Chun turned to him. Officer Halbrook, we need your body camera. Halbrook's jaw tightened. It's uploading. We'll verify. Alvarez stepped closer. Also your patrol car dashcam. Halbrook nodded once. Marcus watched the room change shape again. Power was moving. Not loud, but firm. Chun looked back at Marcus. Sir, we'd like a statement. Halbrook cut in. This is unnecessary. It was a routine stop. Chun didn't look at him. We'll decide that. Silence. Marcus spoke evenly. I was told I matched a suspect. Chen's pen paused midair. What suspect? There wasn't one, the younger officer said from the doorway. The room stilled. Halbrook shot him a sharp look. Alvarez turned slowly. Officer, is that accurate? The younger officer swallowed. Dispatch confirmed no active suspect. Chun wrote something down. Slowly. Carefully. Halbrook's voice hardened. You're taking his side? Chun finally looked at him. We're taking facts. Marcus felt something strange in his chest. Not relief. Not yet. Just space. Alvarez turned to Marcus. Did the officer state probable cause before searching your vehicle? No. Did you consent? No. Halbrook stepped forward. He was being evasive. Marcus met Chen's eyes. I asked questions. Chen nodded slightly. Questioning is not a crime. Halbrook laughed once. Dry. You've never worked traffic. Chen closed her notebook. And you've never been on this side of the table. Silence. Heavy again. Alvarez looked at Halbrook. How many prior complaints have you had regarding traffic stops? Halbrook's face shifted. That's not relevant. It is now. Marcus watched carefully. Halbrook's shoulders were still broad. Still strong. But something had changed. The certainty was thinner. The captain re-entered the room. The chief is downstairs with press. Chen nodded. Good. Halbrook turned sharply. You're going public with this? The captain didn't answer him. He looked at Marcus instead. Commissioner, we regret this deeply. Marcus held his gaze. Regret doesn't fix systems. The captain swallowed. We will review policies. Chen added quietly. This review has already started. Alvarez's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Video from civilians is online. The room froze. How many views? The captain asked. Climbing fast. Marcus felt the weight of that. Public. Uncontrolled. Halbrook looked at him again. Different this time. Not anger. Concern. You wanted attention? Halbrook said quietly. Marcus shook his head. I wanted fairness. Chen stepped closer to Halbrook. For now, officer, you're relieved of duty pending review. The words hit hard. Even without volume. Halbrook blinked. You're suspending me? Over this? Chen's tone stayed steady. Pending investigation. Alvarez added. Badge and firearm. Halbrook stared at him. Long. Then slowly removed the badge from his chest. Placed it on the table. The sound was small. But final. He unclipped his radio. Set it down. The younger officer watched silently. Marcus felt a tightness in his throat. This wasn't celebration. It was consequence. And consequences ripple. Halbrook looked at Marcus. You're proud of this? Marcus answered honestly. No. Halbrook's eyes flickered. For a second, he looked unsure. Then defensive again. This will pass. Marcus adjusted his sleeve. The video won't. Silence. The captain cleared his throat. Commissioner, the chief would like to address this publicly, with you. Marcus considered that. Carefully. Chen closed her folder. This investigation will move quickly. Alvarez nodded. We've already flagged prior complaints. Halbrook's head turned sharply. What prior complaints? Chen didn't respond. Marcus felt it now. The bigger picture forming. Patterns. History. Not isolated. Never isolated. Alvarez looked at Marcus. Are you prepared for this to get louder? Marcus thought of the road. The flashing lights. The cuffs. The word uncooperative. He inhaled slowly. It was already loud. Downstairs, cameras clicked. Voices rose. A reporter shouted a question. Marcus picked up his briefcase. The captain gestured toward the hallway. Halbrook stood alone for a moment. Without a badge. Without authority. Just a man in a room. As Marcus stepped toward the door, Halbrook spoke once more. Low. Almost to himself. You could have just said who you were. Marcus paused. Turned slightly. And if I wasn't? Silence answered him. And downstairs? The microphones were waiting. The lobby was bright. Too bright. Camera lights flashed against the glass doors. Reporters crowded behind a thin barrier. Microphones raised. Voices layered over each other. Commissioner Reed. Was this racial profiling? Are charges being filed? Marcus stepped out beside the police chief. Chief Donnelly kept his face neutral. Tight smile. Controlled posture. Marcus noticed the distance between them. Not far. But not close either. The chief stepped to the podium. Earlier today, there was an incident involving Commissioner Marcus Reed and Officer Halbrook. Murmurs moved through the crowd. The chief continued. The department takes this matter seriously. Marcus stood still. Hands folded. Wrist marks faint but visible. A reporter shouted. Was the commissioner targeted because he's black? The room quieted instantly. The chief paused. We are reviewing all facts. Another voice cut in. Is Officer Halbrook suspended? Yes, the chief replied. Pending internal affairs investigation. Cameras flashed harder. Marcus felt the heat on his face. He didn't blink. Commissioner, a reporter called. Why didn't you identify yourself? Marcus stepped forward slightly. Because that mattered. I shouldn't have to, he said simply. The room stilled. A reporter frowned. But wouldn't that have prevented escalation? Marcus looked directly at her. Would it have? Silence followed. Short. Heavy. Another reporter raised his voice. Did the officer use excessive force? Marcus chose his words carefully. He used authority without cause. The chief shifted slightly. We are committed to transparency, he said quickly. Marcus felt that familiar tension again. Control versus truth. A journalist near the front stepped forward. Glasses. Rolled sleeves. Press badge. Commissioner Reed, he said calmly. Were you informed of any suspect description? No. Was there one? No. The crowd murmured louder. Chief Donnelly lifted his hand. We will not speculate during an active review. Marcus felt the word active press against him. Active meant ongoing. Ongoing meant delay. A woman near the back shouted, This happens every day. Heads turned. The chief's smile tightened. We understand community concerns. Marcus looked out at the faces. Concern. Anger. Recognition. He stepped closer to the microphone. I was told I looked nervous, he said. A ripple moved through the room. And that I matched a description that did not exist. The chief's jaw flexed. Marcus continued. I was asked if the vehicle was mine. A few reporters exchanged looks. The journalist with glasses spoke again. Did the officer know who you were when he detained you? No. And after? Marcus paused. He felt the shift in the room. Yes. And did his tone change? Marcus didn't hesitate. Yes. The room grew louder. Chief Donnelly stepped in quickly. This department does not tolerate discrimination. Marcus turned slightly toward him. With respect, Chief, he said evenly, tolerance is not the same as prevention. A quiet gasp. The chief's eyes flicked toward him. Measured. Careful. Commissioner, the chief replied, we are reviewing policies as we speak. Marcus nodded once. I look forward to that. The journalist raised his voice again. Chief, how many prior complaints exist against Officer Halbrook? The chief hesitated. That information is under review. How many? The journalist pressed. Internal Affairs Investigator Chin stepped forward from the side. Multiple complaints are being examined, she said calmly. The word multiple landed hard. Chief Donnelly glanced at her briefly. The balance was shifting again. Marcus felt it. Not in his favor. In the truth's favor. A reporter asked sharply, Commissioner Reed, do you plan to file a formal complaint? Marcus thought of the room upstairs. The cuffs. The offer of silence. Clean slate. He leaned into the microphone. Yes. The crowd erupted. Flash. 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 The chief stiffened. Marcus kept speaking. This is not personal. He paused. It is structural. Silence followed. The word hung in the air. Structural. Bigger than one officer. Bigger than one stop. A reporter shouted. Are you calling this racism? Marcus met the question head-on. I am calling it bias with authority. The chief inhaled slowly. Cameras zoomed in. Commissioner, another reporter said, do you still feel safe in this city? Marcus felt that one land deeper. He answered honestly. I feel responsible for making it safer. The journalist with glasses nodded slightly. Chief Donnelly stepped forward again. This department will cooperate fully. Marcus looked at him. I expect nothing less. The crowd noise rose again. Questions overlapping. Demands building. Behind the cameras, Marcus noticed something else. More officers watching. Some with folded arms. Some with unreadable expressions. The chief leaned closer to Marcus quietly. This is becoming political. Marcus replied just as quietly. It always was. The chief straightened again. Thank you, he said to the crowd. We will provide updates. Security began guiding reporters back. The noise slowly thinned. But not completely. Marcus stepped away from the podium. The journalist with glasses approached him privately. Commissioner, he said softly, this isn't going away. Marcus gave a faint nod. It shouldn't. Are you ready for what comes next? Marcus looked toward the station doors. Inside, officers moved quickly. Internal Affairs deeper in files. A badge sitting alone on a table upstairs. I didn't start it, Marcus said quietly. The journalist studied him. But you're finishing it. Marcus didn't answer. Outside, more news vans pulled up. The story was growing, faster than anyone in that building expected. And inside, the department was beginning to fracture. By nightfall, the video was everywhere. Red and blue lights flashing. Marcus standing still. The words looping over and over. You looked nervous. Is this your car? Turn around. The clip was short, but it was enough. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. The city felt louder. Marcus sat in his office at City Hall. Lights dimmed. Phone buzzing nonstop. Elaine stood across from him. This is spreading fast, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. I know. On her tablet, another clip played. The moment the cuffs clicked. The moment Halbrook said, You people. Elaine looked up slowly. That line is trending. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. Not in shame. In wait. This was never just about me, he said. Elaine leaned against the desk. It never is. Across town, Chief Donnelly stood at another podium. No commissioner beside him this time. We are conducting a full internal review, he said firmly. A reporter interrupted. How many complaints were filed against Officer Halbrook before today? The chief hesitated. 3 formal complaints in the past 2 years. Murmurs erupted. Another reporter shouted. Were any sustained? No. Why not? The chief adjusted his tie. Insufficient evidence. The word hit like a crack in glass. Back in Marcus' office, the journalist from earlier, Daniel Price, sat across from him. Recorder on the desk. Commissioner Reed, Daniel said calmly. Are you surprised there were prior complaints? Marcus didn't rush the answer. No. Daniel's eyebrows lifted slightly. Why? Because patterns hide in plain sight. Daniel let that sit. Did you ever expect to be the one caught in it? Marcus shook his head. I expected better. Daniel studied him. You know this will divide the city. Marcus gave a tired half-smile. It already is. His phone buzzed again. Text after text. Community leaders. Activists. Parents. One message stood out. From the young woman who recorded the stop. Thank you for not staying silent. Marcus stared at it, then set the phone down. I didn't choose this, he said quietly. Daniel replied. But you're in it now. At the precinct, tension filled the locker room. Officers stood in small groups. Whispers. Anger. Halbrook sat alone on a bench. Badge gone. Locker half open. A fellow officer approached him. You okay? Halbrook shrugged. They're making me the example. Did you say it? Halbrook didn't answer right away. I said what I always say. The officer looked uneasy. That's the problem. Halbrook stared at the floor. They don't know what it's like out there. The officer shook his head slowly. They do now. Internal Affairs worked late. Chun and Alvarez sat with files stacked high. Body cam footage replaying on loop. Chun paused the video. Zoom in. Alvarez enlarged the frame. Marcus' hands were clearly visible. Still. Compliant. Chun scribbled notes. No threat posture, she said quietly. Alvarez nodded. Search initiated without probable cause. Chun leaned back. And prior complaints? Similar language, Alvarez said. Similar tone. Chun exhaled slowly. It's consistent. The word felt heavy. Consistent meant pattern. Pattern meant systemic. The next morning, the mayor called Marcus personally. I want to meet, she said firmly. Marcus stood by his window, looking down at the same streets. I'll be there. And Marcus, she added softly, this will change things. Marcus replied honestly. It already has. Outside City Hall, protesters gathered. Some held signs. Some just held phones. Chants rose and fell. Not violent, but determined. A reporter stopped a middle-aged man in the crowd. Why are you here? The man answered simply. Because it could have been my son. The camera cut to the clip again. The cuffs. The words. The tone. Back in his office, Elaine entered quickly. There's something else, she said. Marcus turned. What? She handed him a printed memo. Official. Stamped. Internal Affairs has recommended immediate termination pending final approval. Marcus read it slowly. Officer Halbrook. Effective immediately. His chest tightened. Not relief. Not victory. Just consequence. Elaine watched him carefully. You okay? Marcus folded the paper once. I don't celebrate endings. She nodded. This isn't the end. Marcus looked out the window again. Cameras still lined the street. Reporters waiting. The city buzzing. Daniel texted him. Chief resigning by noon. Marcus stared at the message. Another shift. Another ripple. Exposure doesn't stop at one door. It keeps opening others. Elaine spoke softly. The department is fracturing. Marcus nodded slowly. Maybe it needs to. His phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. A calm voice spoke. This is Officer Grant. The younger officer. Marcus recognized it immediately. Yes. I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. For what? For not speaking sooner. Silence stretched between them. Then Marcus said gently. You can still speak. Outside, the chants grew louder. Inside the police department. The walls were starting to crack. The announcement came at noon. No build-up. No delay. A single line across every news screen. Officer Halbrook terminated. Effective immediately. Marcus watched it from a conference room at City Hall. The mayor stood at the podium. Chief Donnelly was not beside her. He had resigned an hour earlier. Following the internal affairs investigation, the mayor said firmly, We have determined that Officer Halbrook violated departmental policy, abused discretionary authority, and conducted a stop without lawful basis. Cameras flashed. Marcus felt the weight of each word. Abused. Unlawful. Not misunderstanding. Not confusion. Clear. A reporter asked, Were prior complaints ignored? The mayor didn't dodge. Yes. The room shifted. And that failure is being addressed. Marcus exhaled slowly. Elaine sat beside him. This is bigger than one officer now, she whispered. Marcus nodded. It always was. At the precinct, officers stood in silence as the termination memo circulated. Some angry. Some quiet. Officer Grant sat at his desk staring at the screen. He replayed the stop again. Marcus standing still. Hands visible. Voice calm. Grant shut the video off. Then opened a new document. Formal statement. He began typing. Back at City Hall, Marcus stepped up to the podium. No chief beside him. No mayor. Just him. Reporters leaned forward. Commissioner Reed. One asked, Do you feel justice has been served? Marcus didn't rush. Accountability has begun, he said. A pause. Justice takes longer. A reporter pressed. Are you satisfied with the termination? Marcus held steady eye contact. This is not about satisfaction. He let that sit. It's about standards. The journalist Daniel raised his hand. What changes are coming? Marcus nodded slightly. Independent review of traffic stop data. Mandatory bias and de-escalation retraining. Public transparency reports. Each sentence short. Clear. No officer should feel above scrutiny, he added. And no citizen should feel beneath protection. Silence filled the room. Then pens moved fast. Later that afternoon, Marcus returned to his office. The building felt quieter now, but not calm. His wrist still carried faint red lines. He rolled down his sleeve slowly. Elaine entered. It's done, she said. Marcus shook his head gently. No. It's starting. She studied him. You're carrying this. He gave a small, honest smile. How could I not? Elaine hesitated. You didn't have to push this. Marcus looked at her carefully. I didn't push it. He paused. It pushed me. Across town, Halbrook sat at his kitchen table. Uniform folded neatly beside him. Badge gone. Phone silent. The television played the press conference again. His name repeated. His actions described. He muted the screen. The house felt small. For the first time in years, he wasn't in control of the narrative. That evening, Marcus attended a community forum. The room was full. Parents. Students. Elderly neighbors. A mother stood first. My son was stopped 3 times last year, she said. No tickets. Just questions. Marcus listened. Didn't interrupt. A college student spoke next. I always keep my hands on the wheel. Even when I'm scared. Marcus swallowed. I did too, he said quietly. The room softened. He didn't speak as a commissioner. He spoke as a man who understood. An older man stood slowly. Will this actually change anything? Marcus met his eyes. It has to. That's not an answer, the man replied. Marcus nodded. You're right. He stepped closer to the edge of the stage. It changes when we refuse silence. The room grew still. We don't win because one officer is gone, Marcus continued. We win when systems stop protecting behavior like that. A few heads nodded. Not applause. Not celebration. Recognition. Late that night, Marcus drove home alone. No escort. No flashing lights. Just street lamps and quiet roads. He passed the same intersection. The same curb. The same stretch of asphalt. His hands tightened slightly on the wheel. A memory. Metal clicking. Turn around. He inhaled slowly. Exhaled. The city looked the same, but it felt different. Not healed. Not fixed. Just aware. His phone buzzed at a red light. A message from Officer Grant. I filed my statement. Marcus stared at it, then typed back. That matters. The light turned green. He drove forward. Consequences had landed. Titles had shifted. Badges removed. But the emotional cost. That lingered. And tomorrow, he would drive that road again. The morning sun was soft. Golden streaks across the asphalt. Marcus Reed gripped the steering wheel. The city moved around him, buses, cyclists, late joggers, but nothing caught his attention like that stretch of road. The street where it all began. He breathed slowly. Eyes forward. No sirens. No flashing lights. For a moment, peace. Almost complete. Then, a flicker in his rearview mirror. Red and blue. Heart skipped. Marcus' fingers tightened on the wheel. He slowed. The cruiser followed, careful. Respectful. Different officer this time. No Halbrook. No intimidation. Just routine. The officer's gaze met his through the window. A subtle nod. Acknowledgement. Marcus exhaled. A quiet release. Weeks had passed since the incident. Internal Affairs had closed its inquiry. Halbrook was terminated. The chief had resigned. The department announced reforms. Bias training. Transparency reports. Policy audits. But the city didn't magically transform. Systemic change was slow, and Marcus knew that. He had felt it in every officer's hesitation, every public comment, every whispered conversation behind the scenes. Yet the nod from the new officer reminded him. There were allies. There were those willing to do better. He passed the intersection where Halbrook had stopped him. No cameras now. No phones recording. Just the memory. A deep inhale. A soft exhale. He felt the faint red marks on his wrists again. Not pain memory. A reminder. The trauma lingered. The resilience, too. He checked the rearview mirror one last time. The cruiser had turned off a side street. Gone. Marcus allowed a small, private smile. The road stretched ahead. Open. Wide. He adjusted the rearview mirror, focused forward. The streets were his now. Not because he had reclaimed them alone, but because he had made them accountable. Every traffic stop after this would carry a new precedent. Every officer aware. Every citizen empowered. The sunlight glinted on his briefcase, resting on the passenger seat. Documents inside, proposals, policies, reform plans, ready to be delivered. He would keep driving. Not running. Not hiding. Driving. Through the same streets where fear once tightened around him like cuffs. Through the same intersections where authority once assumed it could decide his worth. Through the city he vowed to serve differently. A horn sounded faintly behind him. Marcus glanced briefly. Another driver. Respectful distance. He nodded slightly. An acknowledgement. Small gestures mattered. Every day. The city was alive. And so was its accountability. He reached the familiar corner, slowed, and then proceeded. The lights above flickered, signaling green. Marcus stepped on the accelerator gently. Not fast. Not reckless. Measured. In control. His hands steady. His mind clear. The road stretched ahead. The past behind him. Bittersweet. Justice served. Scars remaining. Lessons learned. He exhaled. And drove forward. Because this was the road he had always meant to travel. The road where fear once ruled. Now one where awareness, resilience, and justice guided every mile. A city slightly better than it had been. A world slightly kinder. A man finally moving forward. The city lights shimmered on the asphalt. Cars passed quietly. Pedestrians moved along the sidewalks. And Marcus drove. Forward. Steady. Unshaken. Aware. Alive. The sun climbed higher. And the road went on.